Imagine if that head trash was not there. Who would you be? What if I told you those fears were no longer a problem? What would you do? I'm Stephanie Costello, a mom of 3, wife, and avid mountaineer. Beyond all of these, I am very much like you, an average person trying to navigate this thing we call life. My goal with this podcast is to bring to light the truth about what intimacy really is. You may smile, feel called out, or learn something new. Either way, you will learn you are in control. This episode is brought to you by Safety in Freedom. Are you struggling to find safety in the freedom you create? Or maybe you're struggling to own your power, embrace who you are, and break free from those toxic patterns? Well, let's help you solve this problem today. Let's figure out what is really happening in your relationships with yourself and others. You can do that for free today at safetyinfreedom.com/call. That is safetyinfreedom.com/call. In addition, if you are looking for support with what we've been talking about in today's episode, I want to encourage you to get our free tools to help you navigate your freedom. You can go now to safetyinfreedom.com to get those resources. If you'd like access to the special resources and all the show notes for this special episode, make sure to visit theintimacytruths.com.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to another Wellness Wednesday. I am Candace Ford, co-owner of Integrated Fitness of Dover, and today I am super excited to introduce Stephanie Costello. She is one of my most trusted experts for personal information. I like to talk to her about everything personal, and she's fantastic. So Stephanie has a company called Safety in Freedom. While taking action and providing accountability, Safety in Freedom helps clients own their power, embrace their individuality, and break free of old patterns. So Stephanie is well known for her honesty, care, and genuine vulnerability, helping married or divorced men and women overcome guilt, shame, and overwhelm, ultimately finding safety in the freedom they create. And this comes at a perfect time because I have been on my own journey in this area of getting rid of guilt and shame and standing in my power and being okay with saying what I mean and meaning what I say.
Yes,
I'm so excited for this. So Stephanie, please take it away.
Yes, thank you for having me. One of the things we love to focus on when it comes to divorced dads or married moms is the helping them assertively communicate, courageously setting boundaries, and enhancing their self-control. You know, it's oftentimes couples will silently avoid each other because they want to avoid that argument. And our goal is to really help couples and parents be able to communicate exactly like you said, say what it is that you want to say and mean what you say.
Yeah, and not just say what you want, but figuring out what you want to say, really learning who you are, not who you think you should be or who you think your partner wants you to be or who would fit into your friend circle, but who you genuinely are, what your needs are, and then being able to effectively communicate those needs to your partner and, hopefully them, stepping into kind of your ownership of those needs and helping you with that. So
absolutely.
Where can people, where can people start?
Absolutely. So personal clarity is the key piece. Awareness. You have to become personally aware in whatever it is that you're struggling with. When couples are working with me, it's either that self-care piece, understanding themselves, the relationship piece, trying to figure out how is this relationship working for me, or the behind closed doors, like how do I want my sexual intimacy to really be with my partner or multiple partners. And so when it comes to personal clarity, between ages 2 and 6, it's ingrained in us the behaviors, emotional patterns, and communication patterns, blind beliefs that we make with our parents and our family and our society and whatever we're being taught based on how we're being raised is all integrated into us in a very young age. And so we make these sort of agreements. For example, why is it inappropriate to talk to the person in the public stall next to you? There's no rules that say that anywhere. It's
I
just
do that all the time. That's not okay. I didn't know that. Sorry to all the people in the bathroom stalls. I just feel like breaking the silence is way better.
Yeah, it's so funny. I mean, it's like even more awkward when you don't have toilet paper and you're like, excuse me, can you like pass me a toilet paper? Right. So that's something that we follow because we watch everybody else do it, or we have moms that are like toddlers are looking under the stalls, so don't do that, and we're like not even realizing what we're telling them not to do. So we just make these agreements with our world, and so it's important to not then start to think about, wow, some people are either like, but my parents did really great. Like they're afraid to say something bad about their parents or bad about their family. It's like, no, negative versus positive. This is the second piece of awareness. Negative is equal to positive. Positive doesn't weigh higher than negative, right? And if you're talking about something that you were conditioned to do that you don't agree with, now that you're realizing you don't agree with it, you can talk about that in the same way you're talking about the sky is blue, as well as talk about a huge highlight in your childhood in the same way you're talking about the sky is blue. Both are important. And so a lot of times in our society, we sit back. So the third piece is, oh no, like, let me not touch that. We fight against what we are afraid of instead of embrace what we know is our truth. And so really giving yourself the opportunity to stop and say, I'm done fighting with that. I'm done fearing that. I'm done with letting that fear run my life, and I'm going to start choosing what I crave for myself.
Yeah, it's like negative because you think it's wrong, but do you really think it's wrong, or were you just conditioned to think it's wrong?
Right.
And then, yeah, I totally get that. Like, who said you can't do that? Or who said you have to do something this way? Or who said that being that way or wanting to be a certain way is wrong? Like, if you think it's okay and it's not harming anyone else, then you do you, girl.
Right. You deserve to live your life in alignment to how you want to live. That's just where safety and freedom comes from. We help people find safety in the freedom they create by their design, not by default or somebody else's design. And so then the next piece to that is, okay, I've gained this awareness, I've gained this clarity. Now, what do I say? How do I say it? Where do I start? Right? Do I just rip the Band-Aid off?
Listen, I'm taking notes. I am taking notes because I've got the clarity.
Yeah.
And anybody who knows me knows that I talk a lot. I am a words person. I communicate. Like, that's what I do. But when it comes to anything really, truly personal or intimate, I literally do not have words. Like, they don't come out. Like, I physically cannot get the words out. So please tell us, because I'm taking notes.
Yes. So there's a few ways we could take this, and so anybody who's watching or listening, I'm gonna draw a little Venn diagram on my sheet here, and on the right side, the left side of the Venn diagram, you're gonna put me. In the middle of the Venn diagram, you're gonna put WC for workable compromise, and then on the right side, you're gonna put them. It could be business. But AKA your relationship with business, your relationship with yourself, your partner, like what are you trying to figure out? But for today, we're really going to focus on the relationship with your partner. So you can write anywhere that is helpful for you. I want for me. I want for you. I want for us. And then you want for you. You want for us, and you want for me. Oops, I said that it doesn't really matter, but if you need it to be organized, put me first and then us last. And so when you're getting that personal clarity, you can make some assumptions on those last three, unless they've directly told you something. You might be able to answer a couple of them, but your screen is blurry because your Zoom thing. Oh, there we go. Yes. And so be careful not to make assumptions here. And our blind beliefs oftentimes give us this chance to make an assumption. So if you genuinely don't have an answer, don't try to fill something out. If you don't have an answer to a question, just leave it be, move on to the next one, and don't make assumptions about what your partner may or may not want. And so when you're writing down the answer to these questions, you have your answers to the 6 or less, and they have their answers to the 6 or less. Now, the best piece is when you're able to really figure out some of the answers to those questions, you're able to get to the middle ground. You're able to really say, wow, I thought you wanted this for us, but really you're telling me you want this, right? And getting that clarity to figure out that middle ground. And sometimes, big piece here, second piece about this, workable compromise is not, well, I don't want it, so you don't get it, or you don't want it, so I don't get it. Yeah. Right? That is not how workable compromise works. Workable compromise is, this is the I want for me piece. What is your non-negotiable? What line are you drawing in the sand that you're not willing to move? And what are some flexible pieces that you're willing to be flexible with? I was going to share. I'm trying to think of an example. So, do you have an example where we could kind of work through that for yourself?
Boy, how personal do I want to get on this Wellness Wednesday?
Exactly.
So, for me, and I mean, I'm mostly an open book, and I don't care if all of Facebook knows who I am. That's fine.
Yeah.
My issues are more with sexual intimacy when it comes to communication and saying what I want and what I need.
Yeah.
But I also have trouble setting personal boundaries in general with friends, with work, with so
you're a giver.
Oh yes, completely. Completely.
You're so much of a giver that you're usually the one that jumps right to giving. You're like, let's just go and give. I'm the same way. I find myself like, why? I just offered the entire elephant. Like, why did I give everything away? And then like, I'm getting like, bits of turkey back. And I'm just like this.
Yeah. And then I'm all stressed out because I don't have enough time to do the things I want to do because I'm doing everything for everybody else.
Yes.
So I think,
so workable compromise there would be, my non-negotiable line is, this is what I'm doing for myself. This is what I want for myself. And
yeah, so my non-negotiable is that I make time for the gym, and I make time for self-care. I have to have those things. That has to be in my time budget. It has to be in my financial budget. That is a non-negotiable for me. So that would be one for me in terms of
Monday mornings at 6 a.m. making something up is like, this is not going to be flexible with anything or anyone unless I'm sick. I'm going to be at the gym Monday morning, 6 a.m. every single time, or I'm going to be at my massage every week at this time. Completely non-negotiable. I don't care what else is going on. I don't care if the house is on fire. I'm going to get my massage.
Yeah, every other week. I am going there.
Yeah, exactly. And so that's the non-negotiable. And you have every right to ask for that. And the piece with givers versus takers, givers have to set boundaries because takers have none. And so if we don't set boundaries around our giving, the takers are so used to receiving that they're just going to want to take more. And as soon as you give 2 or 3 times, because it takes our brain 3 times to really learn something or start to behaviorally be trained into it, as soon as you do like 2 or 3 times, they're just so used to it. At that point, they're just going to keep going until you set a boundary. And the boundary piece is what's really hard, is because we feel like we're disappointing somebody, which then gets me into the assertive communication checklist that we have, which you can get for free at safetyinfreedom.com/assertive communication.
Yeah, we'll have a link to your site when we post this. So everyone can go to your website and hopefully learn how to be assertive. But I listened to a podcast earlier in the week about setting boundaries, and they were saying that a lot of people are afraid to set personal boundaries, and boundaries can be, physical boundaries, emotional boundaries, intellectual boundaries. And the reason we don't do it is because we were afraid to offend the person that we're saying, actually, I really don't like when you speak to me that way, or, please don't touch me, or, because it makes us feel like we're being bitchy, and, God forbid a woman actually stand her ground. We're not a strong woman, we're a bitch. And this is just what it is. But they worded it so well. She said, it's my preference. It's not you. It has nothing to do with you. It has to do with me. And it's just my preference. I would prefer that you not speak to me that way. Or I would prefer not to be touched by somebody I don't know. And I love that, because it gives us the power, and it puts it back on us, so we don't have to feel bad about telling the other person what we want, because it's just my preference.
Absolutely. So there's three pieces to this, and as you were talking, so to kind of go back to the my preference piece, that's you speaking assertively versus being accusatory. Don't do that. When you do this, it's blah blah blah, right? You are the problem versus what I want is really important to me and to our relationship, right? So accusatory versus assertive. It's really important to make sure that we're saying I statements when we're trying to ask for something, not you statements. With in reference to intimacy is not just what happens behind closed doors. Intimacy is how we bond as humans, both, like you were saying, intellectually, spiritually, emotionally. There's all these ways that we bond together, and some of those ways have again been tainted. But there we go, by our past relationships, family, whatever you have it. And so the piece to gaining that confidence to kind of break free from those fears and just kind of stand up and break through the resistance is knowing how to say what you want to say, having a structure instead of like trying to pull it out of our head, like, oh, I can't say I or use, but I have to say I's. And it's like you get debilitated because you get flooded with emotions. And then your frontal lobe is like shut down because your brain is all full of those cortisol and, stress hormones. And so it's like, then you freeze, or then you fight, or then you kind of go into these fear-based reactions. And so the assertive communication checklist gives you that breakdown. There's the validation, the intent, and the action. Very simple. If you can include, and it doesn't have to be in conflict or something that you are fearing might create a conflict. It can be everything you approach a person with. If you start with a validation, you're starting off with on a good note, first off. Then you state your intention. You're starting off with a clear message of what you're looking to have out of this conversation versus when we just go out and say, well, you did this. We're sending the wrong message. We're not sending them a powerful message. We're sending them an accusatory message versus when we say our intent, we're saying I statements. I would really like for us to be able to sit down and have a conversation. And if your validation is, I understand you're super stressed out. I know you've been busy at work and you haven't had a lot of time to yourself, but I really need us intent to sit down and have a conversation about our XYZ, challenge in our family or intimacy or whatever it is. And then your action step. Can we please sit down at this time on this day, undivided attention, uninterrupted? What is the action? What is it that you're asking for? Not fluffiness, like a specific, assertive, not aggressive, direct thing of what is it is that you're actually going to take action on. Micro action, macro results. Don't try to eat the whole elephant all at once. Take some baby step to just get into the right direction.
And what's your thought on written communication versus verbal communication for someone like me who has a serious mental block with trying to say stuff?
I have a lot about communication and verbal versus written. So if you have something that you want to say, but when it comes time to saying it, your brain just shuts down. It's gone and you can't pull it out. That's because, again, those stress hormones, or your brain's like, I'm going to be eaten by a freaking tiger. I need to run away. That's what your brain is thinking is happening.
Or they're going to be upset with me, or they're going to feel badly about what I'm going to say. Yes. And so much concern for the other person that your own well-being is just shut off. And
so that's called fawning, which is a fear response. FAWNING. If you're interested
I'm a fawn. Yeah, I love it.
No, that's the way. That's called fawning. And being a recovering rescuer, I still to this day struggle with setting those boundaries because it's like wanting everybody to be happy, genuinely wanting everybody to be happy. So if you have to sit down and have a conversation, but you genuinely can't get the words out, pen and paper, not text, because text is read through somebody. When we read text, we're reading it through our emotions, through our lens of our life story, and filtering it through us, and then applying our own meanings to it. We need the verbal communication. We need the nonverbal cues. We need that physical touch. If I'm having a fearful conversation with my partner, but they're holding me,
well, then I'm not going to worry about them getting upset, or I'm not going to read them getting upset because I'm already thinking they're upset. So then it's just their tone's not going to be what they intended it to be. So voice is always important. If you can't do the pen and paper with each other, like holding each other, sitting next to each other, doing whatever makes you comfortable, then try the phone while you're driving. That's usually the best place for people to talk, is while they're driving, because they have something they're focusing on, but they're still able to kind of chat and really be intentful in the conversation. There's ways to do it to build up to making it so that you can have a face-to-face conversation.
Awesome. Yeah, there are so many subjects that we can touch on. Like I'm excited to bring you back like many times, because I feel like this is so complex, and being able to say what you mean and effectively communicate.
Yeah.
And I think people think that, well, I communicate, I talk, and like talking is like 1% of the communication.
Right.
There is so much more than just the words that you say. And I think that because we text so much and social media, and we've as a society as a whole have just lost the ability to authentically connect and authentically communicate our needs to other people.
Yeah.
And be confident in what we need, and not feel guilty for being who we are. And so I thank you so much for being with us today.
You're
and
welcome.
you guys have not seen the last of Stephanie. She is going to be a repeat offender on Wellness Wednesdays, because I have so many things I want to talk about. And
Yeah.
And if you guys have any questions for her, or any topics you would like to see her cover, again, intimacy on any level, relationships, marriage, sex, she can cover all of it. So let us know what you'd like to hear from her next, and maybe we can have one of those topics covered. So again, Stephanie, I appreciate it so much for you chatting with us today. And again, we will post a link to her website, and please reach out. I am personally talking to Stephanie outside of Wellness Wednesday, and I urge all of you to do the same. And you see couples you see people alone and couples together.
Right.
If that's something that you are comfortable doing. I love couples therapy. That's my favorite.
Yeah.
So awesome. So thanks for watching, guys, and we will see you next time.
Thank you for having me.